Growth isn't always good news. Sometimes the very thing you're proud of is the thing quietly taking you further from God, not closer. You'd know if you were falling away, right? If you stopped praying, stopped reading, stopped caring, you'd notice. But what if the danger isn't falling away at all? What if it's growing in the wrong direction while everyone around you calls it progress? 7 signs today. Not 7 ways you're failing, 7 ways you might actually be developing real spiritual muscle aimed at the wrong target. 1. You know more than you ever have, and you've gotten less patient with people who don't. You used to be the one asking the questions. Now you're the one everyone comes to. You know the verses, the context, the arguments. And somewhere along the way, when someone brings you a question you answered years ago, something in your chest tightens instead of softens. You still love the truth. You've just quietly stopped loving the people who haven't gotten there yet. Knowledge was never supposed to be the finish line. It was supposed to make you more patient with people, not less, because the whole point of learning something was to hand it to someone gently, not to measure how far behind they still are. Growing smarter about God while growing colder toward His people isn't growth. It's a trade you didn't notice you were making. 2. Here's a harder question. When was the last time your discernment actually turned on yourself? You can spot what's wrong with a sermon, a friend's decision, a Christian influencer's post in about 4 seconds flat. That eye has genuinely sharpened. But name the last time it landed on you and you actually flinched. A watchman who only ever sounds the alarm about the town and never once checks his own walls isn't protecting anyone. He's just loud. The ability to see clearly was never meant to be aimed exclusively outward. If you can find the flaw in everyone but yourself, that's not spiritual maturity. That's just a well-trained blind spot. I've done this, caught myself dismantling someone else's theology in my head faster than I've ever examined my own heart. 3. Somewhere in getting better at prayer, you may have stopped actually doing it. You pray well now, you know the structure, the language, the rhythm of it. It sounds good, even to your own ears. But fluency was never the goal. Prayer was never supposed to be something you got good at saying. It was supposed to be something you did with Him. Mature prayer doesn't just sound better. It leaves room for reflection, for surrender, for actually receiving what He's already spoken through His word, His correction, and the convictions He forms in you. A relationship where one person has gotten really eloquent and never once stops to receive anything back isn't intimacy. It's a performance for an audience of one who's stopped paying attention. If your prayers have gotten more impressive and less quiet, that's not growth. That's a well-rehearsed monologue wearing a conversation's clothes. 4. And this one costs the people closest to you the most. Your discipline is real now. The early mornings, the boundaries, the habits you used to just talk about, you built them. And somewhere in that hard-won progress, you started measuring other people's struggle against it, quietly deciding they just weren't trying hard enough. Holiness that can't remember what the struggle actually felt like isn't holiness maturing. It's holiness curdling into something that looks down instead of reaching back. If your progress has made you less patient with people's process, the discipline worked, just on the wrong target. If 2 or 3 of these have already named something in you, don't rush past that feeling. Let it sit for a second before the next one. 5. The more people trust your voice, the easier it becomes to stop hearing the ones that disagree with it. Your influence has grown. At church, online, in your family, your word carries weight it didn't used to. And somewhere in that growth, the people who used to challenge you started softening what they said, or stopped saying it at all. Influence was never supposed to shrink the circle of people who could tell you the truth, but it usually does, quietly, because correcting someone with a platform now costs more than it used to. A voice nobody pushes back on isn't a sign of spiritual authority. It's just a voice that stopped being accountable to anyone. If everyone around you has started agreeing with you a little too easily, that's not respect. That might just be distance, wearing respect's clothes. 6. Your passion for truth has grown, and your patience for people has shrunk right along with it. You actually fight for what's right now instead of staying quiet. But somewhere in that fire, the tone changed. What used to be conviction started sounding a lot like contempt, and you stopped noticing the difference. Zeal was never meant to travel alone. Without patience walking beside it, zeal doesn't stay zeal for long. It turns into something that wins arguments and loses people in the same breath. Being right about something and being kind about it were never supposed to be a trade-off. The moment they start feeling like one, the zeal has already started curdling. If you've gotten louder for truth and shorter with people, that's not a stronger faith. That's a faster fuse wearing a stronger faith's name. 7. You have more answers than ever, and less wonder than you can remember having. You used to stand in worship and actually feel small in front of something enormous. Now you know the theology behind the song well enough to critique the lyrics while you're singing them. You've traded being amazed for being informed, and you didn't even notice the trade happening. Certainty was never supposed to replace awe. It was supposed to deepen it, to give you more reasons to be amazed, not fewer. A faith that has all the answers and none of the wonder isn't mature. It's stopped growing in a place that looks like knowledge, but feels like a museum. If you know more about God than you've ever known and feel less amazed by Him than you used to, that's not the finish line. That's a warning wearing graduation clothes. Here's what all 7 have in common: knowledge without love, discernment without humility, confidence without listening, discipline without mercy, influence without accountability, zeal without patience, certainty without wonder. Every one of them is real growth, genuinely real, just slowly misdirected, year after year, until the gap became a canyon nobody noticed forming. And here's the hope hiding in that. None of this means your growth was fake. It means it's growth that can still be redirected because it's already strong. You don't need to start over. You need to turn the same strength back toward the people and back toward Him. So sit with this honestly. Which of these has quietly grown in you, genuinely, impressively, while something else just as important shrank in its shadow? Growth was never the goal. Becoming like Him was. And you can grow for years in a direction that never once gets you there. Lord, show me where my strength has grown and my love hasn't kept pace with it. Show me the places I've mistaken confidence for closeness and knowledge for knowing you. Turn what you've already built in me back toward the people around me and back toward you. I don't want to just grow. I want to grow toward you. Not all growth points in the same direction. Some of it needs to be turned around, not torn down. Which one of the 7 found you? Drop the number in the comments and send this to someone who genuinely wants to grow closer to God. Subscribe to guard your spirit. Next time, we're looking at the conversations that are quietly wearing your faith down, the ones that never look like temptation at all.